This is the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching and publishing services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Bill Harper, author of Second Thoughts. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very kindly. I appreciate being with you, Paul.
All right, you ready to get started?
Ready whenever you are.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I guess I would say, Paul, that you have to keep up with the changes in this rapidly changing publishing industry. It's no longer, the stereotype of, you write a book, you get an agent, you go to sleep. As a matter of fact, I would guess the list of agents must be markedly diminished because of the preponderance of today in self-publishing. Paul, what is the number of self-publishing books this year, these days?
Many.
Yeah, I think it's over 1 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Competition that's out there. Anyhow, in addition to being a writer, now more than ever, you need to be a marketer. And Paul, if we have any time left near the end of this show, I'd like to talk about that some more.
Absolutely. And to transition to our next question, on the flip side of things, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I don't honestly think there is any hard part today, Paul, about getting published. Not since the advent of self-publishing. The really hard part is getting sales.
Mm-hmm.
The really hard part is getting your book in the hands of readers. And they call that, unfortunately for me, marketing.
Well, and that's going to transition perfectly into our next question. And that is, please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Well, Paul, unfortunately for both of us and your audience, I guess I don't have an answer because I'm not a marketer. I don't have an answer for that because I cannot be a marketer, and I never will be a marketer. Marketing simply is not part of my DNA. I got sent on a deal to go down to Houston, spend a week in Houston for a magazine, and go down to Houston and sell ads. I spent 7 days walking up and down the streets of Houston and came home without one ad. I didn't make one sale, so I'm not a marketer.
And that's perfectly fine, and not everyone is. And that's why we have the show where we want to talk about tactics. And you know what? Sometimes it does work and sometimes it doesn't. So I really appreciate your honesty with that. And what I'd like to do is transition a little bit more now to asking you about your favorite book. And what is your favorite book? What was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Favorite book? Do you mean one of mine or one by another famed and acclaimed author?
By another author. Any book that you've ever read besides your own.
Let me think here. It would have to be. Well, I was there when Homer wrote his poems 2,500 years ago. But other than that, it would have to be something by Hemingway. Pardon me. And there are so many quotes from Hemingway, I can't pull up one right now. But if you're asking for one of mine, I can give you that.
Sure, why not?
Okay. I wrote a memoir called We Three, about my trip in my sailboat from Minnesota to Texas. And we ran into a storm very early, and we were on Lake Superior. And if you know anything about Lake Superior, you know storms come and go real quick, and they'll scare the heck out of you, much so. And it was myself and another fellow, and the storm hit, and we were looking for a port in a storm, and what we found was a sliver of a river. That was a line that I used in that book that I cannot forget.
I like that. Sliver from the river.
A sliver of a river.
Of a river.
It's just a tiny little river. It wasn't a harbor or anything else. It was just a tiny river on the south shore of Lake Superior. It was more like a stream. And I've got a 47-foot sailboat, but I'm taking it in there, baby, no matter what.
Nice. Well, this is going to transition to our final question, and that is, what is your favorite quote and why?
Mine or other? Well,
either.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of like Jimmy Durante on that. I've got a million of it. You know what Durante said about everything. I'd have to bet it was something from our own Civil War, because I read a lot about it. I have read a lot about that. And, you know, in that era, you can go for the single word charge, like that was the single word that started disastrous pickets charge on the third day of the Battle of Gettysburg. So I don't know what the answer there.
Okay. Well, Bill, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Well, as the police here in College Station have discovered, Paul, I can be found via an email address, W.T. Harper, Harper, here, Here, at gmail.com. And that's all lowercase. The W, the T being the first two initials of my name, and the next six being my last name. And I emphasize here, Here, not Hear. I do have a website, BillHarperWrites.com, all one word, all lowercase. And anyone can find all kinds of stuff about my books and me on Amazon.com under the labels Books plus Authors.
All right, Bill. Well, I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you very kindly, Paul, and I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, and keep on doing it.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.